The secure conference room at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. had never witnessed such an unprecedented gathering of America's top intelligence and law enforcement officials. Attorney General Pam Bondi stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, her steely determination radiating throughout the room as she prepared to deliver the most alarming briefing in the nation's modern history. It was 6 a.m. on February 15, 2025, and the early morning light filtering through the bulletproof windows cast long shadows across the assembled faces of FBI Director Sarah Thompson, CIA Director Michael Harrison, NSA Director General Patricia Williams, and Homeland Security Secretary Robert Martinez. Each official had been summoned with the highest priority alert classification, knowing only that Attorney General Bondi had uncovered intelligence that posed an immediate threat to American national security. "Ladies and gentlemen," Bondi began, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade, "what I'm about to share with you will fundamentally change how we view threats to the American homeland. Over the past 72 hours, our intelligence agencies have uncovered evidence of Iranian plots operating within American borders that represent the most sophisticated and dangerous foreign operation ever attempted against the United States." She activated the wall-mounted display system, revealing a complex web of interconnected data points, surveillance photographs, and intelligence reports that painted a terrifying picture of Iranian infiltration across the continental United States. Red dots marked locations from Seattle to Miami, from New York to Los Angeles, each representing a confirmed Iranian operative who had been living and working in America for years. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has been executing a long-term infiltration strategy that makes their previous international operations look like amateur hour, Bondi continued, pointing to specific locations on the map. "We are not dealing with recent arrivals or temporary visitors. These are highly trained operatives who have been embedded in American society for periods ranging from 5 to 15 years. FBI Director Thompson leaned forward, studying the intelligence displays with growing alarm. "Madam Attorney General, are you telling us that Iranian intelligence has been running deep cover operations on American soil for over a decade without our knowledge?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you, Director Thompson. And it gets worse." Bondi clicked to the next slide, revealing detailed dossiers on dozens of Iranian operatives. These individuals aren't just conducting surveillance or gathering intelligence. They have systematically positioned themselves within America's most critical infrastructure systems, with the apparent goal of being able to simultaneously cripple multiple sectors of our society. The photographs showed ordinary-looking Americans, a power plant supervisor in Texas, a water treatment facility manager in Ohio, a telecommunications engineer in California, a port authority official in New Jersey. Each face represented years of careful planning by Iranian intelligence services to create the perfect cover identities and establish their operatives in positions where they could cause maximum damage to American civilization. CIA Director Harrison studied the intelligence reports with the practiced eye of someone who had spent decades analyzing foreign threats. "Pam, what's our assessment of their immediate capabilities? Are we looking at potential attacks in the coming days, weeks, or months?" Bondi's expression grew even more grave. "Director Harrison, based on our latest communications intercepts and behavioral analysis, we believe these operatives are in the final preparation phase for coordinated attacks. Our intelligence suggests they could be activated within the next 48 to 72 hours. The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. The assembled officials represented the most experienced national security professionals in America, and each understood the devastating potential of coordinated infrastructure attacks executed by operatives who had spent years studying American vulnerabilities. "What kind of attack scenarios are we projecting?" asked Homeland Security Secretary Martinez. Bondi moved to a different section of the display, showing detailed analysis of potential attack vectors. "Our assessment indicates they're planning what intelligence analysts are calling a cascade failure strategy. Rather than targeting individual facilities for maximum casualties, they appear to be focused on creating systemic breakdowns that would paralyze multiple sectors simultaneously." She pointed to specific analysis charts showing interconnected infrastructure dependencies. "For example, the operative we've identified at the Houston Power Grid Management Facility could potentially trigger blackouts affecting not just Texas, but cascading power failures throughout the Southwest. Simultaneously, their operative at the Miami Port Authority could disrupt shipping and logistics for the entire Southeast region. NSA Director Williams had been quietly reviewing classified communications intercepts on her secure tablet. "Madam Attorney General, our signals intelligence indicates they're using a sophisticated communication system that we've only recently been able to partially decrypt. The Iranian operatives appear to be receiving updated instructions and target assignments." "What kind of instructions?" Bondi asked. "Final preparation protocols, equipment positioning, timing coordination, and what appears to be activation sequences for various attack scenarios. Most concerning is intelligence suggesting they're preparing to execute their operation in phases designed to maximize psychological impact on the American population." Bondi nodded grimly. "That aligns with our behavioral analysis. These aren't traditional terrorists seeking to maximize immediate casualties. They're strategic actors, attempting to destroy American confidence in our government's ability to protect critical infrastructure and maintain social order." She clicked to the next intelligence summary, revealing intercepts of Iranian communications discussing American political and social vulnerabilities. "The Iranian regime believes that successful attacks on our infrastructure will create a cascade of political and social instability that could fundamentally weaken American power globally. They're not just attacking our facilities, they're attacking the foundation of American civilization itself." FBI Director Thompson was studying personnel files of the identified operatives. "Pam, I'm looking at these background profiles, and I'm seeing individuals who have been model citizens, community leaders, and trusted employees for years. How did they maintain such perfect cover identities for so long?" "That's what makes this operation so unprecedented," Bondi replied. "The Iranian intelligence services invested enormous resources in creating authentic American identities for these operatives. They attended American universities, married American citizens, raised American children, and built genuine careers in their respective fields. Some of them may have been so deeply embedded that they've formed real emotional attachments to their American lives. Which makes them even more dangerous," added CIA Director Harrison. "Operatives with genuine knowledge of American society and authentic relationships within critical infrastructure systems would be nearly impossible to detect through normal counterintelligence methods." Bondi moved to a classified section of the briefing that required additional security clearances. "What makes this threat particularly urgent is new intelligence indicating that the Iranian operatives have been coordinating with other hostile foreign actors. We have evidence suggesting potential connections to Chinese intelligence services, Russian military intelligence, and even North Korean cyber warfare units. The implications of international coordination among America's primary adversaries sent a chill through the room. The possibility that Iran's infrastructure attack could be part of a larger, coordinated assault on American interests globally represented a nightmare scenario for national security planners. "Are we looking at a potential multi-front attack?" asked Secretary Martinez. "That's our assessment," Bondi confirmed. "While Iranian operatives execute physical attacks on American infrastructure, we could simultaneously face cyber attacks from China, disinformation campaigns from Russia, and additional provocations from North Korea. The goal appears to be overwhelming American response capabilities by creating multiple simultaneous crises." She paused, allowing the gravity of the situation to sink in before continuing. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing a threat that could fundamentally alter the global balance of power. If America's adversaries succeed in demonstrating that they can paralyze our infrastructure and create chaos within our borders, it would embolden hostile actors worldwide and potentially trigger a new era of international instability." The Attorney General's words carried the weight of someone who had spent her entire career defending American interests against foreign threats. From her early days prosecuting international drug cartels to her current role overseeing the nation's most sensitive national security operations, Bondi had never faced a challenge of this magnitude. "What's our response plan?" asked FBI Director Thompson. Bondi activated a new section of the briefing, showing a comprehensive counter-operation strategy. "I'm implementing what we're calling Operation Homeland Shield, the most extensive domestic counterintelligence operation in American history. We will simultaneously neutralize all identified Iranian operatives while securing critical infrastructure and coordinating with international allies to address the broader threat." She outlined the multi-phase operation that would require unprecedented coordination between federal agencies, state and local law enforcement, military assets, and private sector partners. Phase 1 involves immediate surveillance and containment of all identified operatives. Phase 2 executes simultaneous arrests across all target locations. Phase 3 implements enhanced security protocols for all critical infrastructure nationwide. What about the legal framework for an operation of this scope? Asked the Justice Department's senior counsel. I've already prepared comprehensive legal justifications under both domestic and international law, Bondi replied. These Iranian operatives are enemy combatants engaged in acts of war against the United States. We have clear authority to take whatever action is necessary to protect American lives and national security. The meeting continued for another 2 hours as officials refined operational details and coordination protocols. By the time the briefing concluded, every participant understood they were witnessing a pivotal moment in American history. The nation's top law enforcement official had just revealed that America was under attack by foreign operatives who had spent years preparing to destroy the country from within. As the officials dispersed to begin implementing the massive counter-operation, Attorney General Pam Bondi remained behind to coordinate final preparations. She knew that the next 72 hours would determine whether America would successfully defend itself against this unprecedented threat or face the most catastrophic attack in its history. The Iranian plots had been uncovered, but the real battle was just beginning. Bondi was determined to prove that no foreign power, no matter how sophisticated or patient, could successfully attack the American homeland while she served as the nation's chief law enforcement officer. Standing alone in the conference room, surrounded by intelligence reports and operational plans, Pam Bondi felt the full weight of responsibility for protecting 330 million American lives. The Iranian operatives had spent years preparing for this moment, but they had underestimated the resolve and capability of the American people and their leaders. The nation was at risk, but America's defenders were ready to fight back with everything they had. The battle for the homeland was about to begin, and Attorney General Pam Bondi intended to win it decisively. Within hours of the emergency briefing, Bondi had transformed the Department of Justice into the nerve center of the largest domestic security operation in American history. The building's secure floors buzzed with activity as intelligence analysts, federal agents, and military liaisons worked around the clock to coordinate Operation Homeland Shield. The first critical breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Agent Maria Santos, from the FBI's San Francisco field office, had been conducting routine surveillance on Karim Rashidi, a telecommunications engineer who had been flagged as a potential Iranian operative. What Santos discovered would change everything they thought they knew about the scope of the Iranian infiltration. Madam Attorney General, Santos reported via secure video link, we've intercepted communications that suggest the Iranian operation is far more extensive than our initial assessment. Rashidi has been in contact with at least 12 additional individuals who don't appear on any of our watch lists. Bondi leaned forward, studying the surveillance data displayed on her command center screens. Agent Santos, are you telling me we've only identified a fraction of the Iranian network? Yes, ma'am. Based on the communication patterns we've analyzed, we estimate there could be over 100 Iranian operatives currently active in the United States, with support networks extending into Canada and Mexico. The implications were staggering. If the Iranian network was 3 times larger than initially assessed, the potential for coordinated attacks increased exponentially. Bondi immediately convened an emergency session with her senior staff to reassess the threat level. This changes everything, declared Deputy Attorney General James Mitchell, reviewing the updated intelligence reports. If we're dealing with over 100 operatives, they could potentially target infrastructure in every major American city simultaneously. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Justice Department's senior terrorism analyst, had been studying Iranian operational patterns for over a decade. Madam Attorney General, what we're seeing aligns with Iranian strategic doctrine. They call it death by 1,000 cuts, overwhelming an adversary's response capabilities by creating multiple simultaneous crises. Bondi walked to the wall display showing the expanded map of suspected Iranian operative locations. The picture was even more alarming than before. Red dots now covered the map from coast to coast, with concentrations in major metropolitan areas and near critical infrastructure facilities. Dr. Vasquez, what's your assessment of their command and control structure? How are they coordinating an operation of this magnitude? Based on our analysis, They appear to be using a cell-based structure with multiple redundant communication systems. Each cell operates independently, but can be activated simultaneously through a central command authority, likely based in Tehran, but possibly with regional controllers operating from within the United States. The secure phone on Bondi's desk rang with the distinctive tone reserved for communications from the White House. She answered immediately. "Madam Attorney General, this is President Trump. I need an immediate update on the Iranian situation. My national security advisor is telling me that the threat level has been upgraded to critical. Mr. President, we've discovered that the Iranian operation is significantly larger than our initial assessment. We now believe there are over 100 Iranian operatives currently active in the United States, with the capability to simultaneously attack infrastructure targets across the entire country." Jesus Christ, Pam. Are you telling me that Iran has positioned an army of saboteurs throughout America? That's essentially correct, sir. These operatives have been systematically positioned to maximize damage to our electrical grid, water systems, telecommunications networks, transportation infrastructure, and financial systems. If they coordinate their attacks effectively, they could potentially paralyze American society. The president's voice took on the tone of a wartime commander. "What do you need to stop them?" "Mr. President, I need authorization to implement enhanced emergency protocols that will allow us to move against this network with maximum speed and efficiency. This includes military support for simultaneous operations across multiple states, emergency powers to protect critical infrastructure, and coordination with international allies to address Iranian command and control assets outside the United States. You have whatever you need. I'm calling an emergency cabinet meeting for 1 hour from now. I want every department head to understand that we are effectively at war with Iranian intelligence services." As Bondi prepared for the cabinet meeting, new intelligence reports continued to arrive from field offices across the country. Each report painted an increasingly alarming picture of Iranian infiltration into American society. From Chicago came reports of Iranian operatives working within the city's water treatment facilities, with access to systems that served over 3 million people. Detroit FBI agents had identified operatives within the automotive industry's supply chain management systems capable of disrupting manufacturing that supported both civilian and military vehicle production. Perhaps most concerning were reports from the West Coast, where Iranian operatives had apparently infiltrated several major technology companies, potentially giving them access to critical communications infrastructure and cybersecurity systems that protected both government and private sector networks. Special Agent Jennifer Walsh from the Los Angeles field office provided particularly disturbing intelligence during a secure briefing call. "Madam Attorney General, we've identified Iranian operatives working for 3 major defense contractors in the Southern California area. These individuals have security clearances and access to sensitive information about American military capabilities and vulnerabilities." "Agent Walsh, are you telling me that Iranian intelligence has been accessing classified American defense information?" "That's our assessment, ma'am. We believe they've been conducting a comprehensive intelligence gathering operation while simultaneously positioning themselves to sabotage defense production if needed." Bondi realized they were dealing with something far more sophisticated than a simple infrastructure attack plan. The Iranian operation appeared to be a comprehensive assault on American national security, designed to gather intelligence, position sabotage capabilities, and potentially coordinate with other hostile foreign actors to create maximum damage to American interests. The cabinet meeting was unlike anything in recent American history. President Trump sat at the head of the Situation Room table, flanked by his most senior advisors, as Attorney General Bondi presented the most comprehensive threat assessment ever delivered to an American administration. "Ladies and gentlemen," Bondi began, "the United States is facing an imminent threat from Iranian intelligence services that represents the most sophisticated foreign operation ever attempted against our homeland. We have confirmed evidence of over 100 Iranian operatives currently active in the United States, with capabilities to simultaneously attack our most critical infrastructure systems." Secretary of Defense Patricia Morrison studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. "Madam Attorney General, what's our assessment of their coordination with other hostile actors? Are we looking at a potential multi-front attack scenario?" Secretary Morrison, "We have intelligence suggesting coordination between Iranian operatives and assets linked to Chinese intelligence services, Russian military intelligence, and North Korean cyber warfare units. The apparent goal is to overwhelm American response capabilities by creating multiple simultaneous crises across different domains. Secretary of State Michael Richardson leaned forward. Pam, what are the international implications if we move against this network? Iran will undoubtedly claim we're conducting an unprovoked attack on their nationals. Secretary Richardson, these individuals are not Iranian nationals conducting legitimate activities in the United States. They are enemy combatants who have spent years preparing to attack American infrastructure and civilians. We have clear legal authority under both domestic and international law to take whatever action is necessary to protect American lives. President Trump had been listening intently to the briefing, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. Pam, I want you to coordinate the largest counterintelligence operation in American history. I don't care what it takes or what it costs. I want every Iranian operative neutralized and I want our infrastructure protected. Mr. President, I'm prepared to implement Operation Homeland Shield immediately. This will involve simultaneous operations in over 20 states, requiring coordination between federal agencies, state and local law enforcement, National Guard units, and private sector partners. The President looked around the room at his assembled cabinet members. I want everyone to understand that we are now operating under wartime protocols. The Iranian regime has positioned enemy combatants throughout our country with the goal of destroying American civilization. We will respond with overwhelming force and absolute determination. As the cabinet meeting concluded, Bondi returned to the Justice Department to oversee the final preparations for Operation Homeland Shield. Intelligence continued to flow in from field offices across the country, each report adding new details to the comprehensive picture of Iranian infiltration. The operation would be unprecedented in its scope and complexity. Over 5,000 federal agents, military personnel, and local law enforcement officers would be involved in simultaneous actions across the United States. Every identified Iranian operative would be arrested or neutralized within a coordinated 30-minute window, while enhanced security protocols would be implemented to protect critical infrastructure nationwide. Standing in her command center, surrounded by maps, intelligence reports, and operational plans, Attorney General Pam Bondi felt the weight of American history on her shoulders. The Iranian plots had been uncovered, but executing the response would require flawless coordination and unwavering determination. The nation was at risk, but Bondi was confident that American resolve and capability would ultimately prevail. The Iranian operatives had spent years preparing for their attack, but they had underestimated the strength and determination of the American people and their leaders. Operation Homeland Shield would launch in 18 hours, marking the beginning of the most comprehensive defense of the American homeland since World War II. Attorney General Pam Bondi was ready to lead that defense with everything she had.